Hello out there. We're on the air. Oh, wow. Good morning. Happy Monday. I just put on my socks. And first of all, ripped when I was putting it on. The back part ripped. The long part. And then as I was, Arnie came by for 10 seconds today. Attaboy, Arnie. And then as I was put it on fully, my pinky toe was sticking out of it. You can tell we've gone through a Bitcoin bear market, that's for sure. Anyways, sorry, it's Monday. We got a little bit of rust to shake off here like usual, but we'll be all right. We'll be all right. It is Monday morning. It is the middle of December. It is freezing cold. It is snowy. It is windy, but we're nice and warm in here. So this is the Daily Bitcoin Journey. Actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. So welcome to both. That's pretty much covers everybody. You're either a Bitcoiner or you're a future Bitcoiner, right? So we're going to start the show today with Eden. They are the winner of the 88 sats this morning. I don't know if they're a new watcher of the show. I don't recognize the name. So I figured we could give it to a new person. So Eden, if you're still in the chat, put in your Lightning address and we'll send you some sats live on the air. That's not why the show is called 88 sats, but it's something that we started doing recently, giving back to the community here. Hey, Zapstream's buzzing. We got Leith over there. We got Spaceman. And it looks like somebody topped up my balance for me. So thank you for that. Thank you for paying the rent. Let me just change the name. We got the Zaps running again. We had, I don't know how familiar people are with Zapstream, but we had the creator of Zapstream in the chat on Friday, I think it was. The Zaps weren't showing up, but I believe that they are now. We'll see. I had to reroute. Oh, I got a piece of hair on my thing here. There we go. Bye-bye. Okay, so Eden, are you still here? Are you in the chat? Hey, Letha, Zap 21 sats, testing, and it worked. Safe to say we are officially back on the Zaps. And I got it connected to Arnie's wallet too. So Arnie's double dipping for a while now. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can send some sats to this QR code. This is Arnie's wallet. And we got the phone right here, so it lights up. And so make sure you leave a comment. Oh, there's Arnie. Make sure you leave a comment letting us know who sent it so we can give you a little shout out on the air. And tomorrow is Tuesday, also known as Tunes Day, which means, oh, there's a Zap. Look at that. 420 sats from Sunshine. Sunshine, missed you, buddy. Haven't seen you for a while. So tomorrow's Tunes Day, which means we start the show every Tuesday with a song request, just like a jukebox. It's called the Bitcoin Jukebox on Tunes Days. So if you want to request a song, you can choose anything you like, any song, any video even. You could just, I think it was, who was it? Daniel? I think it was Daniel who sent in a Trump clip one day for us to play. So send in some sats, send in your request. And if your bid is the highest tomorrow, then we'll start tomorrow's show with your song, your favorite song, or most relevant song, whatever you want to do. But anyways, thank you once again, Sunshine. Appreciate that. 420 sats to start the show. I don't see Eden anywhere. Okay, so we're going to move on. Missed out. You missed out, Eden. All right. Jay's in the chat. Good morning, Jay. We got Timber Crasher, one of our Bitcoin Journeymen. You can see his little logo there. Little S. We got Jason in the chat. Good morning, Jason. Good to see you, my friend. Bitcoin Buddha. And Sailor smashed by his 21,500 Bitcoin. We're talking about sats over here, and we got Sailor buying 21,000 Bitcoin. So it is Monday, which means that it is also MicroStrategy Monday. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. We got too much to talk about today. Buck 52,000 is in the chat. Greetings, humans. Dale's in the house. Good morning, Dale. Great to see you. Oh, we got more stuff coming in. There's Spaceman. Test Zap. Received. Thank you. Hey, Laurie's in the chat. Good morning. I hope Arnie had a great birthday. Did you, Arn? Did you have a good birthday? He got everything he asked for, which was snow. He got a lot of snow yesterday. It pretty much snowed from late Saturday night to late last night. I think we got probably 6 inches. So we spent Arnie's birthday outside shoveling and snow blowing. And Arnie was just having a ball, having a blast. See how many hills he could climb, see how much snow he could jump through. Sun shines in both chats this morning. Jose, good to see you, Jose. Thank you for the zap this morning. Psychologist, hey, where do I recognize this name from? Was it you who was commenting a little bit on the channel? Hold on. I think it was. I'm having a really hard time keeping up with the... Oh, yes, it was. Yep. My Arizona pal. Okay, so shout out to psychologist. Looks like not a mental psychologist, but looks like a biker psychologist. I like that name. Arizona. So yes, we were chatting last night there in Arizona. I love Arizona. So I got a lot of places to go, but Arizona is definitely in the mix. Sailor has 2% officially. Morning, Bunny. Another new face. Ginger. Duncan. Ozekin. BlackRock is a major shareholder in 4 of 5 largest Bitcoin miners. This is scary. Calm me down on this, please. I don't think there's anything that needs to be calmed down. I mean, if you just look back, if you start day one with Bitcoin, 2009, the Genesis block, December the 3rd. If you look at how many people were mining at that point, it was very centralized, right? You had Satoshi, you had Hal Finney, you had maybe a handful of other guys mining, and slowly it's just become more and more decentralized. And it will continue to do that. I think that over time here, a lot of these big Bitcoin miners are going to just kind of fade away because everybody's going to be mining Bitcoin. And there's going to be so many different ventures of people mining Bitcoin and capturing this untapped energy source that we've never been able to tap into and unlock. And so I think that as we move along here, both the holdings and the mining are both going to further decentralize. And actually the blog post I wrote today was kind of about that a little bit, decentralization and why it's absolutely imperative that something like Bitcoin is decentralized. And it is. I mean, I don't think BlackRock's going to be a concern in our lifetime. I have no idea where this thing's going to go long term. But BlackRock, they've been buying Bitcoin for a year straight. And I think they have 2% of Bitcoin. And I think that they've been doing deals with Bitcoin miners. This is just pure speculation. This is just my opinion. This is not proven. But I think they've had backroom deals with a lot of Bitcoin miners, even before the ETFs. They knew this was coming. This whole thing's been planned for a while now. But the nice thing about that is, like, even with 2%, MicroStrategy has 2% now. BlackRock probably has close to 2%, or the ETFs do for sure, or more. But I think that individuals actually own about 60% of the Bitcoin. So you look at the two biggest players, MicroStrategy, BlackRock, 2% each. I don't know how much the miners hold, but 60% of the coins versus 4% of the coins, I think there's quite a buffer there. And I really think that 60% is going to continue going more decentralized. I could be wrong. But there's been a lot of videos on YouTube talking specifically about BlackRock and their influence in Bitcoin. So I think Michael Kratter from Bitcoin University has done a couple of videos specifically addressing this. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I'm not concerned with it. That's what I'll say. Mike's in the chat. Good morning, Mike. Okay, so I want to, where should we start here today? I had notes, but I left them outside on the table. Right on. Ian, morning gang, morning George. Smash the like button. Thank you, Ian, for the reminder. Let's see how we're doing with the likes. Oh, I do have some metrics today, so we can check that out. Hold on. What do we got here? Mine doesn't even show that we're playing yet. Are we? We got to be live. There's no way we would be 11 minutes into this. Okay, hold on here. What the hell's going on? This is your classic Monday morning. Nothing's working. I can't load it. I'm going to trust that everybody watching here has smashed the like. For Arnie's birthday, too. It was yesterday. Arnie boy. Turned 1. 1 year old. Well, it was a quick year, that's for sure. It won't even open for me. Fuck it. We're moving on. Okay, let's get to the metrics because I found something kind of interesting today that I wanted to share here. Where are we? DCA. That's a good call there, 7An. 7An says DCA. Okay, let's get to the metrics. Actually, let's start with the mempool, then we'll get to the metrics. Let's see which Bitcoin miners have been cleaning up today. Something's just not running very well here. I don't know what it is, but anyways, we'll carry on. So we are currently sitting at block height 873,965, and the fees are 8 sats per rebyte if you're transacting on the Bitcoin Layer 1 network this morning. Foundry was the winner of the last block. And the hash rate, which is the best indicator of the strength of the Bitcoin network, is continuing to rip. We're 36 blocks ahead right now. And I do think it is important. I've noticed that there's a lot of new faces in the chat lately. I mean, kind of expected with the bull run, but at the same time, I think it's important that we kind of explain a few things here. So this difficulty adjustment here, this is a big part of the Bitcoin network and why it works. Because how this difficulty adjustment works is ideally Satoshi wants, or the Bitcoin network wants, blocks to come in every 10 minutes. That's the target, every 10 minutes. And so when Bitcoin miners are finding blocks too fast, they start coming in ahead of schedule. So it's quicker than 10 blocks or 10 minutes per block. So when that happens, that means that there's more miners. It's becoming easier for them to find the blocks, which means they're coming in faster. And so this difficulty adjustment, every X amount of blocks, it either goes up or down based on how many blocks are coming, how hard it is, how many people are mining. And so when it's going too fast, when miners are finding blocks too fast, the difficulty goes up. It makes it harder for them to find it. And on the flip side, if it's taken longer, let's say that this was 35 blocks behind, that means that it's too hard. There's not enough miners out there. They're taking too long to find the blocks. And so the difficulty adjustment actually goes down. So that'd be a downwards difficulty adjustment. So this is kind of like the self-regulating tool that built into Bitcoin that makes sure that the blocks are coming in every 10 minutes on average. So you can see here that it's approximately 9.7 minutes, the average block time, which is ahead of 10 minutes. So that's why we're 35 blocks ahead, which means that if it continues, there'll be a difficulty adjustment upwards, making it harder for the miners to find the blocks. It's a beautiful thing. Absolutely beautiful. All right. Yeah, something's going on here. I'm actually going to make some changes to the office here, I think. I'm going to hardwire into the router. I'm going to try to find a way to rig it up today. I mean, it can't be that hard, right? Plug in two things. Yes, it was psychologist. That's right. Thank you, Letha. Letha's smashing likes and zapping sats. Okay, so we got Blue over in the Zap stream. Zap stream's kind of buzzing. I'd say so. We got Spaceman, Letha, Sunshine, and Blue, and a couple people who are being quiet today. Holy, my forearms are just shaking today. Had to snow blow a lot of snow yesterday, and it's not an easy thing to do. It seems easy, but it's definitely, especially like the first couple times of the winter. Brandon, good morning. Good to see you. And Brendan, look at that. Brandon, I saw, was in the chat for the Bitcoin Amigos. Are we okay here? Oh, the internet. I love the internet, but it's as a guy who does a show every day, it can be very, very, very frustrating. And I don't know what to do about it, Okay, I think we're okay. I remember Brandon was in the chat on Friday for the Bitcoin Amigos. By the way, I know that there's been a lot of people who already have done this, but just in case you haven't, head over to the Bitcoin Amigos YouTube channel. And not many have. Kind of I wouldn't say disappointed, but between this community, between Jerry's community and Chris's community, like 151. I don't know what people are hanging on for or holding out for. But anyways, head over there right now. Click the subscribe button. We're doing shows every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We did our first inaugural show on Friday. Okay, before I play this, Chris from Fractal Bitcoin, I guess he's a radio guy, music producer. He's been writing some Bitcoin songs, and they are so catchy, like to the point where it's pissing me off. Like I have these songs stuck in my head all day, but I'll give you just a little taste of one of the songs that that he made for the Bitcoin Amigos, and it's like a 50s rock kind of song. I'll give you a little taste here. Friday, let's go. Friday, let's go. If you know, you know, the Amigos about to flow. Jerry legendary, Joe for the score. Chris never missed, got him begging for more. Banging Friday shows, Bitcoin Amigos. Banging Friday shows, Bitcoin Amigos. Oh yeah. So good. So good. So there's that one. There's like an old Mexican kind of song. There's like a rap song. He made a couple more over the weekend. They're absolute bangers. I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm biased because they're for the Bitcoin amigos, but like they are very, very catchy songs. So shout out to Chris for making those songs. I think they're actually going to be, they're probably going to bring a lot of people to the channel more so than like we do. So anyways, head over to YouTube, the Bitcoin Amigos channel, and make sure, like Brandon did on Friday, stop by. We had a really good show. It's just a lot of fun. And the great guys, Jerry and Chris, and lots of people in the chat too. So you can watch that one. It's about an hour and 47 minutes long with 3 songs in there. Brennan's in the chat. We got Bit Billy. Good morning, Bit Billy. Let's do some metrics. How about that? How's about that? I got to plug in my phone here, so you're just going to have to give me 1 sec. I don't know why I always do this, but I forget to plug in my phone every night. Banging Friday shows. Bitcoin amigos. All right, we're good. We're plugged in. Okay, so let's check this out. Price today, 98,601 USD. 1 year ago today, 43,720. So you can see a big jump there actually, even last year around this time. The last show we did, yeah, it jumped from 39 to 43 in about a week. So this is usually, historically, and I'm thinking it's going to be the case even more so this time around, but this is usually when we see some serious action in the price around this time of year. 2020, 4 years ago, you could have purchased a Bitcoin for 18,468 US dollars. Moscow time today, which is the 1 US dollar will get you 1,010 sats. 1 US dollar will get you 1,010 sats in the US. And if you want to be Moscow rich, you need 1 million sats. That's going to cost you 990 USD. The price here in Canada today, 139,538 CAD. Wow. The Moose Jaw time, which is the Canadian equivalent to Moscow time, 1 Canadian dollar gets you 715 sats. And if you want to be Moose Jaw rich here in Canada, you need 1 million sats, and that's going to cost you 1,399 Canadian dollars. All right, so the thing that I found really interesting here, because 2020 is kind of the year that we want to focus on. That was the last time that there was a halving in Bitcoin. And typically after halvings, there's always some serious price action upwards. So December 9th, 2020, the price was 18,468. So if we fast forward here, I'm going to show you kind of what we should expect in the next month. So I'm going to go Bitcoin price, January, let's say in a month from now, January 9th, 2021. So you remember December 9th, 2020, the price was 18,000. And if you fast forward 1 month, doubled. 40,255 USD. So I'll just, just to prove that I'm not full of shit here. So that's January the 9th, 2021. And we had December the 9th, 2020. 18,000. So in this time between December 9th and January 9th, last halving, the price went from 18,000 today or that day to 40,000 US. So it doubled. It doubled in a month from this date, a month ahead, 2020, 2021. So I just don't think that we're You know, I know we've seen a lot of like sideways action. It's gone up obviously, but like I don't think we're fully prepared for what's coming here. So I did want to talk about a few other things here, just a bit of housekeeping, and just to give everybody kind of a heads up on a few things that we're working on. So I posted today. I posted on nostr, and I said, "Good morning, nostr. Do not underestimate where this thing is going. Now is the time to be building your Bitcoin security fortress. Delete your price watching app and focus on your setup." So I had somebody reach out after that saying, good words, been thinking about this a lot, might use the Bitcoin advisors to help with multi-sig. Any experience with those gents? And so I've talked about this a little bit in the last month or so, but I haven't really leaned into it, and I'm not going to today. I'm going to save that for another time. But I just want anybody out there who's thinking about, you know, setting up a Bitcoin node. If you need help with your hardware device, if you want to look into and set up a multi-signature setup, these kind of things that are a little bit more advanced and difficult. And so that's kind of the technical side of things. But even if you want to just sit down and have a conversation about like what you want to do with your Bitcoin to manage it, your inheritance stuff, your UTXOs, your Bitcoin strategy overall, shoot me an email. Our website is not up, but we do have a new venture called Bitcoin Citadel. And it's myself and 7 other very knowledgeable Bitcoiners, each with their own kind of expertise within Bitcoin. And if you compare it to, not only are you going to have some inherent trust just by being part of this community here, but our rates are substantially lower than our competitors. And we're doing that on purpose because we don't want to rip anybody off. We want to add as much value as possible. And we'd rather have you buying sats with that instead of giving it to us. So we know that this information is valuable. We're not going to undersell ourselves, but we're also not going to rip anybody off. So we've had a couple people reach out. This guy said he emailed me and I saw it come in right after that. So if that sounds like you, regardless of where you are in your Bitcoin journey, if you need some help with anything, again, running a node, setting up a device, setting up a multi-signature, multi-jurisdictional, anything, developing your Bitcoin strategy, just reach out. Again, our website is not live yet, but I can either help you or I can put you in touch with one of our other 7 advisors. So it is very new, but the people I'm telling you are, you know, just as or more knowledgeable than me in Bitcoin. So if you're interested, all the stuff that you'll ever need from me is in the show notes, email, website, Calendly. If you want to just set up like a 15-minute quick call and just see what you need help with and how we can help, I'd be happy to do that for you. So that is the Bitcoin Citadel. And I saw that somebody zapped 100 sats from YouTube or YouTube's app stream. So thank you for that, whoever sent that in. Okay, Buck52,000 says, moving some fiat to the exchange to buy some Bitcoin. It took a whole day for the check to clear into my bank account. It's going to take 3 days for deposit. Make it to the exchange. Bitcoin is not slow. No doubt, eh? No doubt. Spaceman says, Bitcoin Amigos is pretty laid back and easygoing show. I like it. Yeah, I mean, it's fun. Both those guys are a lot of fun. I get such a kick out of Chris's laugh. And he's got his little soundboard there with his different things from Barry and different. So I think that we'll probably expand that as we go along here. But yeah, it's just a good time. It's a Friday afternoon. I had a couple beers. I actually shotgunned a beer on the show. I was going to post it on my channel, but maybe we'll just share it on the Amigos channel instead. So it was a pretty clean shotgun. I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit worried. It's difficult to do anything live on air, but especially shotgun a beer. So it was good. Josh says, watch that documentary about the Vegas thing. Mind blowing. I had a couple people reach out over the weekend actually, and it's nuts. It's nuts. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today in terms of gold and the Fed and how this whole thing has played out and how I've seen it and how I started connecting dots about 4 years ago now, with some political stuff, with Trump, with the Vegas stuff, with the Saudis, with Bitcoin. It led me to Bitcoin. It led me here. And it's amazing to me that that documentary was the one that really opened my eyes to what's happening behind the scenes. Like it wasn't just like somebody's opinion. It was like actual news clips that nobody ever talks about, that happened very early on in Trump's 2016 presidency. When he took office in 2017, where he went to Rome, he went to London, he went to Israel, Russia, a couple different stops. And then there was ties into the Vegas thing. And that actually spilled out into Facebook, Google, Twitter, YouTube, Microsoft, Apple. All these big tech companies were paid a visit by the Saudi crown prince. And if you look at what happened to the previous, or the other guy, I don't know if he was the crown prince yet or not, but he was supposed to, I guess he was. And what happened to him and his ties with like the Epstein stuff. It's pretty wild. Like, I'm not going to lie. And when I first watched that, I watched it a couple different times. And every time I was like, this makes so much sense. But like, I didn't know that it was real. But after like 4 years of watching this whole thing play out, like it gives you a whole different perspective on it. So that documentary, I shared it in the Living in the Future community. So a couple months ago, I did like a full show on it. We watched the documentary. We watched a more up-to-date interview about the same kind of stuff and the same players in the game, which made me do it. And since then, I mean, Trump's came out as a Bitcoiner. He's talking about a strategic reserve for US. So it's like everything's just kind of falling into place. And it does seem very far-fetched, but at the same time, if you look at it objectively, like the majority of things discussed in there have happened. So you can't even argue it. So I would strongly suggest, and I mean, this is kind of like a weird thing to say, but like just join the Living in the Future. Even if you want to cancel it, I don't care. I just think that everybody should be watching that documentary just to see, what's really going on here behind the scenes. And I would love to hear some rebuttal to it. AJ says, you told a story about the other day about not renewing your Winnipeg Jets tickets. Can you explain why? Yeah, very simple. I was a season ticket holder. And during the pandemic, they decided that only a certain amount of people were allowed to go into the arena. And I was not one of those people. And so I watched every single game, probably since the Jets moved to Winnipeg. I watched every single game up to that point. I think that was like 2011, maybe. So like 7-8 years, every single game I watched. Never missed one. I remember I was in college too, and I would go out to the bar, record the game on our PVR, come back at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m, watch the game. And then that whole thing happened, and they said, sorry, you're not allowed to come into the arena without a thing in your arm. So I was like, all right, see you later. Haven't watched a game since. Waro, I don't know if you're still here or not, my friend, but I gave you some credit. I gave you some credit on the Bitcoin Amigos show, because Waro was actually the one who commented on the live chat here and said, I found your channel from Jerry. Jerry Loves Freedom. So I went over and checked out Jerry's channel. I left a couple comments. And then somehow, like within the next couple weeks, Jerry, Chris, and myself I don't even know how it happened, but now we have a Bitcoin Amigo show. So Waro was the one who set that whole thing up. Whether he meant to or not, I have no idea. But yeah. Sunshine says, used to love hockey, but haven't paid attention in a while. I think my new team will be Tampa Bay Lightning because, well, lightning. That's legit. That's legit if you don't know much about hockey, then you just pick a nice logo or a nice team name. Hey, Bodie's in the chat. Good morning, Bodie. Good to see you, my friend. Okay, look at this. Perfect question, because I was actually going to talk about this today. So let's bring this up. Let's bring up the Bitcoin. Well, did I finish the metrics there? I don't know. Mondays are always a shit show. So psychologist, just give me a sec here. I know that you're in the US here, so it's going to change my answer a little bit in terms of which Lightning wallet to use. But we're going to give away some Lightning here. And before I do, I'm going to give you all a couple minutes here. So psychologist says, I hold Bitcoin in multiple wallets, but never use Lightning. What do you recommend for Lightning transactions? So I've actually been playing around a little bit with this, with the Bitcoin well, because that's how you earn like rewards on there. You actually throw a coin into the wishing well and you scan the QR code and then you get sats to your Lightning wallet. And I do that every day on the show where the QR code pops up. The first person to scan it gets the sats. So I've been kind of experimenting with some different Lightning wallets and the speed of them. So I use Wallet of Satoshi mostly, but I know that Americans can't use Wallet of Satoshi. So what I'm going to suggest here, everybody, and again, I'm going to give you a couple minutes to get this downloaded. It should only take a minute or so. But download the Speed Wallet. So go to your app store, type in Speed Wallet, I believe. I'll show you the logo here just so you have the right one. And I'll give you my code, because if you download it and you use it a couple times, you actually get I think it's either 500 or 1,000 free sats from using that code. So this is what it looks like. It is, hold on. So that's the logo right there. That's what it looks like. So you just type in speed. And you do have to verify. No, you don't have to verify, but you have to put in an email address. So it might take a couple minutes here, a couple seconds, whatever it is. But do that today, or right now if you're quick. But you can use the code here. I'll put it in the chat. The referral code gets you, again, 500 free sats for using it. I think that's an I5. EPN SI5. I think that's an I. And if that doesn't work as an I, then try a 1, but I'm pretty sure that's an I. So EPN SI5. And I'll also put it at the top of, if you're watching this later, I'll also put it at the top of the show notes there. It says, there's a whole bunch of referral links on there, but it says Speed Wallet. And then you can just copy that referral code and you get some free sats for it. But where I was going with that is actually Speed Wallet. I tried scanning a code with that and it was lightning fast. I tried Koinos, I tried Phoenix, I tried Wallet of Satoshi. I tried all these different ones comparing like how fast it scans, because when you're competing for sats, you want to be the quickest one. So you want to have the quickest chance at it. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know, somebody in the chat might have to confirm this for me here. But can you use Speed Wallet in the US? Because if you can, I think that's going to be my new recommended Lightning wallet for people, because it's solid wallet and it's very fast. So I'm going to give you just another couple minutes here to get the wallet, and then we'll do, you can test it out today, see how fast it scans. BitBill, yes. Strike, I think, also works pretty well. We don't have that in Canada here, but I've heard that Strike is pretty solid as well. Hey, 21 Spiels in the chat. Good morning. Michael McDonald from Newfoundland. Love that. Hey, Plunger's in the chat too. Zapped 100 sats. Thank you, Plunger. And I absolutely love that these zaps are finally showing up. And somebody also sent in 888 sats for Arnie's anniversary. I like that. I like anniversary because then it's not like he's aging. It's just a milestone for him. Kev, good morning. Okay, does everybody have the speed wallet downloaded? I'll give you another minute because you do have to confirm your email. And the nice thing about that is you don't actually have to. I mean, you could just create a brand new fresh email that's not connected to you at all without your name, and you can use that kind of in a non-KYC fashion without any actual like ID verification. Spaceman says, I never know if I'm watching the correct feed. They're all not broadcasting with the same delay for me. I only try when I'm feeling lucky. Not sure what you mean. Not sure what that means. Like for the QR code? Okay, so Rick says the speed wallet is ready to go. And if Rick's ready to go, then we're all ready to go. So it couldn't have taken that long. So we're going to try it out. We're going to try out the speed wallet today. This is going to be a quick one, maybe. So get your speed wallet or whatever wallet you use opened up. And somebody's going to win some free sats here right now, courtesy of our friends at the Bitcoin Well. We actually have a Telegram group for like Bitcoin Well, people who promote Bitcoin Well. And Adam was in the chat the other day, and he was impressed. He was impressed with the community here that we have. Let me read what he said. I don't know if this is legit. I don't know if I should be sharing this or not, but whatever. I was pumped about it. So Adam said, Jor, I don't know what you're doing on your show, man, but I'm seeing your name on the sheet constantly. So that's good. I want to give a shout out to everybody for making that happen, for catching the attention of our good friend Adam over at Bitcoin Well. Because we've had quite a few people from this community signing up for a Bitcoin Well account. Okay, we ready? Set? Go. All right, tell me that wasn't, if you're using the speed wallet for the first time, tell me that wasn't the fastest scan you've ever had. It's right, I would say right up there with Wallet of Satoshi. Wallet of Satoshi and Speed Wallet are the fastest scanners. I was trying to scan it with the Coinos wallet, and it literally took me like 2 minutes to even scan the code. So I can see why people aren't winning some of these free giveaways just because they're using the wrong Lightning wallet. So 500 sats. Courtesy of the Bitcoin Well. I'm guessing with the new speed wallet, somebody has claimed that, but we'll just double check here. I'll get my speed wallet opened up. It's a great app. There's a lot of things that you can do with this. And the other thing that I love here, outside of just how fast it is. Yeah, it's been claimed. The other thing I love about the Speed app is that you actually get to choose your own Lightning URL. So I chose Bitcoin Journey at speed.app, which is kind of cool because even with Wallet of Satoshi, they just provide you with one. You can't customize it yourself. But with Coinos, with Speed Wallet, you actually get to choose your own Lightning URL, and you need that for a lot of different things in the Lightning ecosystem. So again, highly recommend this app, and it's kind of cool that you can earn this token, the Speed token, by playing games on there. It's got Tether. There's a bunch of different things. Check it out. Get the Speed wallet and just play around with it a little bit. All right. So once again, those sats today were courtesy of the Bitcoin Well, by far the best Bitcoin platform in North America. So if you're in Canada and the US, and actually I've heard a couple different bigger Bitcoin podcasts talking about Bitcoin Well recently. and they're from the US, so they don't have all the same features that we do in Canada. But if you're in Canada and you're watching this, you have to try out Bitcoin Well. There's features on there that nobody else has. Like, there's been such a big deal about Strike in the last week, about being able to pay your bills through Strike. That's been offered on Bitcoin Well for a while now in Canada. You can swap. I think you can do that in the US too. Free swaps between Lightning and Layer 1. And the cool one in Canada is the Bitcoin ATMs, the vouchers. That's a big one. So just go to, where's the banner here? bitcoinwell.com/Jor, and you get 5 free tosses into the wishing well, which means a minimum of 2,500 sats, maximum of 5 million sats. I'll leave it up there for a sec. And once again, just in case you're coming in a little bit late there is the code for the Speed Wallet. Got lots of codes up today. All right, well, let's get to some news. Sorry, I'll catch up on comments here, then we'll get to the news. BitBilly says, what was the documentary again? I don't even know. I tried sharing it with the Living the Future page. It's not on YouTube. I know that for sure. It was on Rumble when I watched it, and I couldn't find it. So I actually had to share the whole show that we did because I couldn't find the documentary. I couldn't find what it was called. And Ian says, I watched it, guys. Oh my God. Just makes you think, what the fuck is going on in the world? 100%. Like, it was nuts to me. It blew my mind. What are we doing here? Yeah, Josh says, join Living the Future, and Jor pinned the show he did with the documentary embedded right at the top. Yeah, so if you're joining today, if you're joining Living the Future today, you actually just look at the feed, and then it's right at the top. I pinned it at the top so you can watch that show. The documentary starts at about the 45-minute mark of the show, and then we talked about it after and watched a different interview as well. So highly, highly recommend that. AJ says, much respect for that. I was forced with work and I'm still pissed off about it. Yeah, you're definitely not alone, my friend. You're definitely not alone. I have many people in my life that have the same feeling. T. Jacobson says, I have Blue Wallet. It has Lightning too, but I haven't figured out how it works. I have Blue too, and it's the same kind of thing. I don't think they have a URL with that. It's just for Lightning invoices. But with Speed Wallet, it gives you a URL. It has everything you need on there. Okay, perfect. Look at this. Meech Dog says, indeed, the code worked, and it is allowed in the US. So that's going to be my new go-to for BitBilly says, do we put that code under awards? No, you should be right when you're signing up. I think you put in your email address, you put in your password, and then it has a little space you click to add a referral code in there. And that's where you put it. I don't think it's in rewards. If you see rewards, you've probably gone too far. But I did see someone. Oh, here we go. Catherine. Hello from Quebec. Hello, Quebec. Hey, look at this. Look at this. Soak says, good morning, all. I won the toss using Speed app. Been using it for Bitcoin Well toss for a while. Thanks, Jor, and thanks, Bitcoin Well. And then zapped 880 sats. Love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Spaceman says, I use Zeus. Maybe it's just too slow to compete. Yeah, I mean, what I would suggest if you are somebody who is running has your own channel, Lightning channel, like Zeus or Phoenix or something like that, just use Speed for smaller amounts. I don't ever plan on having more than 10,000 sats in my Speed wallet, but it is great for this kind of stuff. And it has a URL, which means it's compatible with most things you need with Lightning. So definitely check it out. Okay, what do we got for news here? A little bit of news today. Holy. Oh, that's not what I want. Let me get things opened up here. All right, where do we begin? I mean, I don't want to take too much time here because I think that this is pretty well covered throughout the Bitcoin world. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the MicroStrategy, the marathon, Riot. Somebody left or I think it was in the live chat, asked if Riot's been buying Bitcoin. And they actually just came out this morning and announced that they're doing the same thing as MicroStrategy. They have a convertible debt note for $500 million to buy Bitcoin. So Riot is taking on debt to buy Bitcoin, which is, I think, a very good strategy, especially for Bitcoin miners. So it's good to see. I think Riot was one of the ones that met with Trump before he got elected. So we're fans of Riot. So that was kind of the big news today. We had MicroStrategy. Saylor bought 21,000 more Bitcoin, now has 2% of the supply. And Riot announced the same thing, and Marathon bought a bunch on the weekend too. And shareholders at Amazon are now asking to buy Bitcoin. I mean, if you're, I'm not going to say this on the show because I know that everybody here has Bitcoin, but it just blows my mind how you could see all these things happening. This is just corporations too. But I'm thinking over the next 24 hours, we're going to have a big announcement in Dubai. I think it's in Abu Dhabi for nation states, for countries buying Bitcoin. I mean, it's just so obvious what's happening here. And it blows my mind that people are still just sleeping on this thing. So what we're going to talk about today. Hey, good morning, Nick. Missed you. What I'm going to talk about today for MicroStrategy Monday. So I had a comment here. So MicroStrategy today bought 21,000 more Bitcoin. But somebody in the comments here asked this question. If you happen to see this, Jor, if you have money to spend, why would it be in your benefit to buy a MicroStrategy, a stock, instead of just buying Bitcoin? Unless I'm mistaken, MicroStrategy is custodial, known by government, etc. Why would you subject yourself to risk 1602 attack? I think it's 6102 attack, but same thing. Whereas Bitcoin is self-custody. If it's one or the other, I don't see why you wouldn't buy Bitcoin. So that's a great question. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today I'm sorry, my eyes really watering here. I don't know what's going on. Too cold, I guess. But that's what I wanted to cover today for MicroStrategy Monday, is that question. It's a great question. And I think that there's a couple of reasons why I would be buying MicroStrategy over Bitcoin. And I'll give you a couple of them. So the first one is if you have a lot of Bitcoin. Depending on, I think it's going to be different for everybody. But let's just walk through a scenario here where you have a bunch of Bitcoin, right? Maybe you've been buying for, I got a phone call coming in. Should I take it? It's probably somebody trying to get my Bitcoin. Some scammers. Scammers are hot lately. But let's pretend somebody's been in Bitcoin since like 2015, 16, 17 even, or they bought a bunch of Bitcoin. So I would say if you have more than one Bitcoin, you should, and let's say you want to do something with fiat. Let's say you want to pay off some debt, you want to buy a house, whatever that is. So these are the kind of two conditions. You have a lot of Bitcoin, you have more than one Bitcoin, and you have something that you want to buy in fiat. So what I would suggest there is that is the time where I would actually take some cash, or I would consider selling some Bitcoin and buying some MicroStrategy shares in a tax sheltered account. And the reason I say that is because if you think about this, if you have a bunch of Bitcoin, you're expecting it to do well. And I think that if you have more than one Bitcoin, you're going to be wealthier than you could ever imagine. So if you have that already, you take some of that extra, you buy some MicroStrategy, you sell it now, so you pay a small capital gain if you're into that kind of thing. You pay a small capital gain on it compared to what it would be worth in the future. You put that money into MicroStrategy, into a tax sheltered account, and then it grows. It grows, and even if it went up 1-to-1 with Bitcoin for the next 5 years, like, think about what that's going to be worth. There are risks for sure, as mentioned in the comment here. There are risks. There's counterparty risk. Somebody else is holding that Bitcoin for you, and somebody else is holding that share for you. So there are risks, but if this thing works out like many expect it to, you're going to see a huge increase in a tax sheltered account. And so you can just easily cash that out into fiat, pay off your debt, buy a house, buy a cabin, whatever you've been wanting to do. Whereas if you compare that to holding Bitcoin and selling it later, you're going to have to pay tax on that. From, let's say your cost base is like $20,000 and it goes to 2 million. Like, you're paying a huge capital gain on that. A lot of money in taxes for that. But if you did it now, if you kind of foresaw everything that's coming here, you put some of that into a tax sheltered account, let it ride for a couple of years, and then you just cash it out, no tax, into the fiat system. So that's one in one instance where I would say MicroStrategy over Bitcoin. And then the other one I would say, and this is something I've said from day one here on the show, is that if you have capital in that system already, so if you have a stock portfolio, if you have a retirement fund at your work, if you have a pension, self-directed or otherwise, that's the money that you allocate to MicroStrategy. If you have cash sitting around or cash in the savings account, you put that into Bitcoin. But everything that's already in the traditional system, that's what you put into MicroStrategy. So that's what I would say. That it's definitely, again, if you had $10,000 in cash that's already out of the system, you should be putting that into Bitcoin, without a doubt. Get control of that. Take the keys to that. There's no counterparty risk. It's yours. It's the only property that you can actually own because of the 12 words in your head. So that's what I would say to that. That makes sense? Good question, though. And I'm going to say here, great question. I addressed this on the live show today. I'll probably clip that too. But anyways, that's what I would say. I've obviously been fairly consistent with, choosing Bitcoin self-custody over MicroStrategy with available capital. But I haven't really gone as far as like who should be buying it outside of that. But I do really think that, the one Bitcoiners, I think that makes a lot of sense for people to be taking advantage of the tax system. Pasty's over there. Afternoon freedom loving seers. All right, I like that. And I see that my balance was below 500 sats, but somebody topped it up. You guys are fucking awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. All right, we got another one here. It says 888 sats. Arn, happy belated birthday, little buddy. Keep up the chaos in the background. Oh, man. From Josh. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate that, brother. All right, let's catch up on some chats here, and then I'm going to talk about something else. AJ said he got the speed wallet. That's good with the code. Charlie Dunn says, my friends and family still won't buy Bitcoin because they think there's a chance it goes to zero. You know what? That's okay. That's okay, Charlie. There's nothing that you can do about it. So, I mean, you kind of have two options there. Man, I love that my eyes just watering here. This is awesome. I'm crying. Sad. Arnie's already won. No, I mean, you got two different options here, Charlie. Number one is just leave them alone. Let them figure it out. Let them figure it out on their own. Let them get to Bitcoin when they get to Bitcoin, because they're going to get there. It's just a matter of when. So they're probably going to be, much less fortunate than you are right now. So that's one option. Just leave them alone. Don't talk about it. Don't think about it. Just leave them alone. And I would say the second option there is that, you can just buy some on their behalf. If you're a Bitcoiner, you've been around a while, like just take a small portion of your stack, take like 200,000 sats, earmark it for your brother. Take 200,000 sats, earmark it for your best friend. Take 200,000 sats. And the nice thing about that is you don't have to tell them that you did that. You don't have to, send them a text saying, I bought you some Bitcoin. Just keep it there. And if you change your mind, if they piss you off sometime in the future, you get into a little fight with them, it's still yours. You still have full control of it. But if this thing plays out and then a couple of years from now or in 10 years from now, you say, hey, I bought this Bitcoin for you back in 2024. I want you to have it. So a small thing today, then you don't have to worry about it. You got them covered. And again, if anything changes or something happens to them, it's yours anyways. So that's what I'd say. That don't spend too much time and energy worrying about them. If you care that much, then just buy some Bitcoin and put them in a little treasury for them. Oh, look at this. Be kind but shrewd. Can't Stop Treasuries. The first Indian company just did in India too. It's happening. There you go. A couple different reports here. A company in India called Jet King just announced buying Bitcoin for treasury. This is a good point from Pasty, and I think that this is a good message, especially for everybody in the YouTube chat. But this is from Pasty over in Zapstream. It says, it's important never to use your real name in the chat. The dirty scammers are after our treasures. Yeah, I actually talked about this a little bit in the multi-generational wealth course that we've been doing. I did a full show on like Bitcoin best practices. So it's kind of past the point of like the beginner stuff of how to buy, how to send, how to, do stuff like that. But I think I had a list of like 10 best practices in Bitcoin. And that was kind of one of them. It was a little bit unrelated to the real name on YouTube, but it is the same kind of thing. And so I gave some tips on like how to stay somewhat anonymous as this thing plays out, because I really think that a lot of people are significantly underestimating how wealthy they're going to be. And so I think that that's going to be in episode 7. I'm going to do a show specifically on like how to prepare for that mentally and physically, and like the inheritance side of that. So if you haven't yet, I very much encourage you to check out the Living in the Future community. Not only do you get access to the Signal chat, which is phenomenal, just for staying in the loop, asking questions, learning things, helping other people. There's almost 80 people in there, I think now, in that specific chat. So you get the Signal chat, you get the Discord channel with a whole bunch of resources for mining, a ton of stuff, Lightning, nodes, but you also get the multi-generational wealth course included in that. And so we've done 6 episodes already. The 6th one was on best practices in Bitcoin, just a few things you can clean up in your security setup to make a big difference in the future. And the 7th episode I'm going to do is going to be on that, like getting ready for being insanely wealthy. And so I'm going to talk about kind of how to prepare for it mentally, things you can take in between then and now, and some inheritance stuff. So definitely right at the top of the screen here, it says join Living in the Future. It's $5 a month on Patreon. And I guarantee by far the best $5 a month you'll ever spend in your life. I guarantee it. You got great people like Matt. You got great people like Jason. You got great people like Ahsoka, Pasty. Everybody's over there. It's a nonstop Bitcoin chat the whole day, plus a whole bunch of other cool shit going on. Yuki 405. Hello from Germany. Good morning. Great to see you. All right, so this is kind of stretching on to be a little bit of a longer episode here, but that's okay. We're okay with it. Soak says, hey, Jor, I also sent a happy anniversary message for Arnie with the 880. Can you read it at the end? Interested to know if that part of Speed app works. Yeah, I think so. I think I got that one. Oh, no. Sorry, I didn't. Unless you... 800, I got 880, but it just says zap. It doesn't say any comment on it. That's kind of unfortunate. But I did see one for 880 sats for Arnie anniversary. So was that you? I don't know. Anyways, let's keep it rolling here. T. Jacobson, I downloaded Speed app and sent some sats to it. Cool. Thanks for sharing. I'll send you some when they get transferred. All right on. You don't have to. If you use the code, I think we each get 500 sats for you getting that. So don't worry about sending any sats. Sorry, Bodie. But you'll be ready for the next show. Look at this, mate. Sold my car yesterday. You can guess why. I mean, now, okay. We just talked about the fact that 4 years ago, this month, Bitcoin went from 18,000 to 40,000. From January or December 9th, 2020 to January 9th, 2021, Bitcoin went from 18,000 to 40,000. That was the last time we went through a halving. And there is so many things happening in Bitcoin right now. So many things. Even in the last 24 hours, we had MicroStrategy buy 21,000 more Bitcoin. We had Amazon talk about Bitcoin. Their shareholders are asking Amazon to start buying Bitcoin. The Microsoft meeting tomorrow about Bitcoin is Tuesday, December 10th, tomorrow. Who was this we just talked about in India? Jet King just announced they're buying Bitcoin for the treasury. We have countries. We have the US Strategic Bitcoin Reserve in a month from now. Like, you should be taking everything that you have that isn't Bitcoin and converting it to Bitcoin right now. Like, we have such a small window here, and I really want to drive home how much urgency we need to have right now. Like, we're never going to be back here again. You're never going to be able to buy 1,000 sats with $1 again, ever. And so don't just up your DCA a little bit. Like, take a look around your house and see what you can sell for Bitcoin. Even if it's like a couple shirts, you get $40, you buy Bitcoin with that. Like, do everything you can over this next month to buy as much Bitcoin and accumulate as many sats as you possibly can. Because we do have, I know I've been saying this for a while in terms of how short this window is, and it has been. I mean, we're up 80% this year. But I think in the next 30 days, it's going to be, this is the most urgent time to be buying Bitcoin. Oh, Bodie just sent in 1,000 sats on Zapstream saying, I know I'm the slowest turtle here, but I run a Bitcoin node and I'm teachable. Cheers, Bodie. Appreciate that, my friend. It's okay. You know, you don't have to get everything. You don't have to learn everything as fast as you can. Just take your time, take it slow, but get as many sats as you can and make sure that you're protecting those sats. All right, what else do we have here? AJ says, if I have some Bitcoin and ShakePay, how would I send some sats? I'm new to Lightning. Oh, this is a great question. I'll show you how to do it right now. I want you to try this out today, AJ, and I want you to send me an email. I think you sent me an email on the weekend, and I haven't got a chance to respond yet, if that's the same AJ. But I want you to try this today and let me know how it works for you. So first of all, if you don't have Bitcoin Well already, you're going to need it. So go to bitcoinwell.com/Jor. And this is going to be applicable for anybody who's trying to send some sats to Lightning, right? So go to Bitcoin Well, get yourself an account and start there. So I'll leave that up on the screen here, and I'm going to bring this up in Bitcoin Well. So what you do on Bitcoin Well is you use the swap feature. So you can use this. I use this mostly for sending Lightning to on-chain, but you can actually do the opposite. So you can say, I want Lightning. So you go into your ShakePay. I'll give you the exact breakdown that you're going to need to do here. So you start with Bitcoin Well, you go into here, swap. That's number one. Number two, you toggle it to be, I want Lightning. So you want the Bitcoin to be on Lightning. Click that. You're going to have to add a destination address so you can add your speed URL into there. If you just got the speed wallet, you add in your UTL or your URL, sorry. So that's where it's going to. That's the destination. You put your speed wallet in there, and you can do that. I think you just go to add wallet there and you type in your speed wallet address that you create. And then you copy this. So this is where you're going to be sending it to. And then you go back into your ShakePay, you paste this address, and you send it from ShakePay. You paste in this address, and it goes from on-chain to Lightning. So it'll go from your ShakePay into your speed wallet for free. And it might take a little bit of time. I'm not sure how long it takes from going to on-chain to Lightning. But if you're sending from like Lightning to on-chain, you can see that it takes about 20 hours. This might be instantaneous though. So try that out. Give that a try. You're going to be sending it from ShakePay, so you got to paste that address in there. And then you have to set up your destination address. But as soon as you send it from ShakePay, it should actually go into your speed wallet. And if you don't have Bitcoin Well, if you're watching this from like a different country, you can use Aqua Wallet for that, for moving on-chain to Lightning for very cheap. Oh, look at this. Andrew got 21,000 sats yesterday on Bitcoin Well. Wow. That's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. 21,000 sats. Wow. Like, think about what that's going to be worth one day. Jeffrey says, what was the documentary referred to by several in the chat? I don't know what it's called. I couldn't find it. I went to find it last week to share with the Living the Future community, and I couldn't find it. So it was on Rumble, but I don't know what the title. I couldn't find it. So I just shared the whole video that we did at the top of the Living in the Future Patreon feed. So if you want to check that out, again, you can just join Living in the Future, and right at the top of the feed, it's called Bitcoin I think it's called Arms Race for Bitcoin. That's the show that we did. So we did like a normal show, and then we hopped over to the Patreon. We watched the documentary with some commentary, and then it's pinned right at the top. It's called The Arms Race for Bitcoin Has Begun. So you can watch that video. It is 2 hours long, but if you skip to about the 40-minute mark, you can just skip my show and just watch the documentary and the things that followed from that. Crazy not to. Hey, this is what we're going to be talking about right now. U.S. senators proposed selling gold reserves to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve, a revolutionary move to bolster the dollar and tackle the U.S. national debt. Yes, Cynthia Lummis. All right. Sorry, we got a lot going on here today. I'm trying my best to keep up. Maverick's in the chat. Maverick the Mighty checking in. How safe, unsafe is it in your opinion to use Bitcoin Core nodes for transacting versus building your own for increased privacy? I mean, where you want to get to here is running your own node, definitely. And I set a goal earlier this year that I wanted to get a start9 and I wanted to start running my own node, and before the end of 2024. So I have 3 weeks. But the good news is I do have the start9 here. I have the server. I have things ready to go. Now I just need to spend a few days and learn how to do that. So I highly recommend everybody here definitely run your own Bitcoin node for privacy reasons, for helping the network. There's a bunch of reasons to do that. But don't like, obsess over it. If you're somebody who's just getting into Bitcoin, instead of spending, I think it was like $1,500 for this start9 or more. So just buy Bitcoin instead. Like, especially in this next month, don't be buying a start9 server just to be, just to fit in, just because you think it's the right thing to do. Take that $1,500 and buy Bitcoin with it. And this is making me think about a bunch of different things in my head right now, and we don't have time to talk about all of them. But if you are somebody with a comfortable amount of Bitcoin, definitely start running your own node. It's much better. And use start9. I got the package the other day. It is a beautiful little device. And if you use the code 88SATS with start9 as a promo code, you save 5% or about $60 US using that. Josh, sent my first lightning to the Arnster. Feels good to be growing in this community and the education that you're providing, Jor. Thanks, dude. Well, thank you. Oski wee wee, whatever the hell that means. Thanks, Josh. All right, let me catch up. I'm almost there. So they're also out there saying to sell the gold reserves. Yep. Demonize your enemies, same time for free. Evil genius move, 100%. Hey, Jeff, MicroStrategy can be held inside a tax wrapper in the UK. That's what I'm talking about. Selling Bitcoin and paying taxes to move into MicroStrategy does not make sense. Well, I mean, that's your opinion. I think that based on where we are right now, it depends. Like, it depends on what you need it for, right? Like if you have let's say a line of credit for $50,000 or whatever it is, and instead of waiting a year or so, selling your Bitcoin, paying tax on that, and then paying off the loan, like you can just sell some Bitcoin now. Again, this is for people who have a lot of Bitcoin already. Like, again, over 1 Bitcoin. If you're still trying to stack to get to 1, then don't do this. But if you can sell some today, pay tax on that if you want, if you're into that kind of thing, and then move it into a tax sheltered account and then pay off, because it's going to go up quite a bit more, I think, in the next couple of years. That's kind of what I'm saying. You'll get the gains that we're about to see over the next couple of years in a tax sheltered account. That's the difference there. Like if you got 20 million sats, you shouldn't be selling Bitcoin and buying MicroStrategy. Again, that doesn't make any sense. But if you have a comfortable amount of Bitcoin already in cold storage, you could take some of that, sell it, buy MicroStrategy, and put it into a tax sheltered account. That's what I was saying there. Not for everybody. There's probably only a very small percentage of people who would fit into that category of like a bunch of Bitcoin, a bunch of debt. But I just thought that was it's possible to do. It's not, I don't recommend it if you're not comfortable doing that, or if you don't want to pay tax right away. But it's a strategy. T. Jacobson says, I did the same, sold my Miata. Figured it cost me 3.5 million US. Yeah, I mean, that's one way to look at it. It's an expensive car if you're buying cars instead of Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, Wyatt says this is the third Monday in a row that sailors bought tens of thousands of Bitcoin and the price in stock isn't going up. It's just a matter of time. that's the thing you got to keep in mind here. With an asset like Bitcoin, with a truly scarce and fixed supply, it's only a matter of time. So don't feel like you have to rush. We're on everybody's on their own timeline, but it doesn't really matter what their timeline is. So, but I think the key takeaway for this is that Saylor understands the urgency here. He understands what's happening here. And just going back to this comment one more time from Jeff, like even in a month from now, I think that this opportunity would be gone, because then Bitcoin will have increased so much. You've already accrued a huge gain on that. That's why I'm saying, like, at this time, it makes sense to do that based on where the price is. Yeah, start 9. I think that I've heard nothing but good things about start 9. I finally got mine in the mail here, and I'm going to be setting it up this week. And as Captain Codeman says, maybe you don't need to spend that much money on it. A mini PC or an Umbro. All right, what else? Yeah, I agree with this. HODL forever. Running a node is a must for all Bitcoiners sooner or later. But again, don't rush into it. Don't rush into it. Like if you're just getting into Bitcoin now, like buy sats instead. That's my advice. TWT, wanting to put 20K into Bitcoin, just lump sum, probably better or DCA at this time. I mean, if you've watched the show today, I think you already know the answer to that. Right? Absolutely, just get smashed by it. Don't wait. Because literally, if this is going to be a repeat of 2020, which I think it's going to be a much bigger version of that. But even if we just repeat what happened last time, 4 years ago, last time there was a halving, it went from 18,000 to 40,000 in a month, starting today. So that would mean it's more than that. 18 to 40 is more than 2x. So that would put us at about 240,000 Bitcoin if we just did what we did last time. So if you're going to be DCAing that, you're just going to lose sats. So TWT, definitely smashed by it. If you need any help with that, when you're dealing with, and I mentioned this last week. And this is kind of weird, actually. This is kind of weird how this whole thing worked out. I'm not joking. This is legit, and I'll even show you the email here, because I'm not lying. So last week I talked about on the show buying larger amounts of Bitcoin. And I said, if you have 20,000, 30,000, 100,000 that you want to buy in Bitcoin, just to shoot me an email. And someone's like, well, why don't you just say, what you're going to do? I'm like, well, because there's, depending on what country you're in, there's different answers for it. So I'm trying to talk to everybody here on the show. But anyways, one of the over-the-counter exchanges that I use is called Caleb and Brown. And so just to kind of take a step back here for a sec, like if you have 20,000 or 50,000 or whatever it is, like you don't want to be buying that through an exchange like Coinbase or Kraken or anything like that, because they limit your withdrawals. And it was funny, just a side note on this, but on the weekend, Coinbase came out and said, there's been a lot of FUD. There's been a lot of misinformation about Coinbase restricting accounts and limiting withdrawals. And they came up with this whole thread talking about, how good of an exchange they are. And they actually got a community note on their tweet, Coinbase. So Twitter put a community note on Coinbase's tweet, which was perfect, because I talked about this last week and that happened. And then I actually got an email this morning. Again, I'll show you this email because it's legit. But it was from Jim at Caleb and Brown. This morning. Says, hey, Jor, I hope you're well. We've recently had a few clients mention your channel to our brokers. They love your Bitcoin content. It's clear, well-researched, and logical. For us, the best way to find new collaboration opportunities is simply based on what our clients recommend. So naturally, you're a great fit. So they sent me this thing. They want me to, I guess, be an affiliate with them, which is perfect because I was referring them before without even an affiliate thing. So TWT, get in touch. Depending on what country you're in, you have to be using the right exchange for larger purchases. So we can set up a call. I'll even loop you in with Jim if you want to use Caleb and Brown. I can be there for the meeting. We can go through the whole thing. But the nice thing with them is that you can just send a bank wire and they're not going to limit your transaction or your withdrawals. You send a bank wire, they buy the Bitcoin and they send it directly back to your wallet. And they can hold it if you want to. I don't recommend that. But if you're somebody who's like not comfortable with holding your own Bitcoin yet, then they'll hold it for you in the meantime as you figure it out. So I love that. I absolutely love that. And I think that there's going to be a lot of people out there who have like 10, 20, 50, 100, $200,000 that they want to put into Bitcoin yet, or they want to put into Bitcoin, but without getting too far ahead of themselves, like something like this is perfect. Because if you're putting like $200,000 into Bitcoin, like you need a full fortress to protect that thing, right? So just having somebody like that who can hold it for you in the meantime, instead of like, because I think that's what's holding a lot of people back is they're like, well, I want to buy a bunch of Bitcoin, but I don't know anything about it. I don't know how to store it. So this kind of gives you a little bit of a buffer in terms of buying it. And then over a couple months, whether you want to set up a couple meetings with me, get your security process down, and then get them to send it to you, or just send it to you right away. So I think that's an important note, not just for TWT there, but for anybody who's like thinking about putting a bigger buy-in of Bitcoin, just reach out to me first and I'll kind of help you through it. I'll give you the best exchange for where you are and for your situation. Mikkel, good morning. You sat stacking salute. And I see Daniel's over in Zapstream. Good morning, Daniel. Good to see you. Daniel's been struggling with the Zapstream lately. His Zaps aren't showing up. And somebody sent 69 sats. It says the knowledge that we're consuming here is so undervalued. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Where were we here? TWT, again, just shoot me an email. And I'm not set up on there yet, but that doesn't matter. That's not what it's all about. I'll gladly put you in touch with somebody there. And I'll even set up a quick call with you just to make sure that everything's kind of good to go before you do it. And I'm sure they could set me up probably in a day or two, but regardless of that, we're not going to wait for me to get a referral code. Just if you want to do it soon, just shoot me an email. That's a new one. It was muted on my microphone. Oops, I don't know what's going on here. Okay. So I just talked for a couple minutes there to myself. But anyways, what I was saying, I'll just recap briefly, is we're an hour and a half into this. I hope you guys have nothing to do today, because what I wanted to talk about today, we haven't even started with yet. Yeah. Good info here. Quick pause for a whiskey shot. It's not on mute. We all just went deaf. So I guess we're stretching the show out today. That's okay. But this is kind of the main thing that I wanted to talk about today. So we can't skip out on that. All right, we'll save that for a sec. So I'm going to watch this video. This is actually from one of the dipshits on CNBC. And the internet's not working, of course. Why would it? Hopefully this will be the last show that we have issues. I don't know. We're losing people, and I don't blame people for leaving. This is it's a shit show. So I think we're back. I think we're you can hear me. We're gonna put this on. I watched this last night. I'm actually gonna write down some things here that I want to discuss, because it's kind of hard for the memory here. But we're gonna watch this. This is from MSNBC's Chris Hayes. I mean, you can just tell within 3 seconds of looking at this guy. All in with Chris Hayes. You can just tell by looking at this guy. He might as well have dipshit written on his forehead. It is kind of funny to me that, like, the way the show goes and some of the things that come out of my mouth, and then we have Caleb and Brown still reaching out and wanting to work with me for some reason. But anyways, this might as well say dipshit right across this. So let's listen to what Chris Hayes has to say on Bitcoin. I'm going to speed it up because he's very painful to listen to. But let's see what Chris Hayes has to say.
So for very understandable reasons, Democrats and Democratic regulators have worked hard to keep crypto, which has been supremely volatile, blocked off from the rest of financial systems, so that if it crashes, it doesn't bring the entire US economy down with it, requiring a bailout. Some rich people holding a lot of crypto disagree with that strategy. They want a bailout, implicit or explicit, if the house of cards comes crashing down. To that end, after Republicans took back the Senate with the help of money from the crypto industry, they now have a plan to return the favor. And I want you to listen to this part, because
I'm gonna stop there. So within the first 20 seconds there, he said that we know, like, these people just, like, they key on these buzzwords. So within the first 30 seconds there, he said that we know Bitcoin is supremely volatile. And he said that Bitcoin and crypto was the reason that Trump won the election there. That's basically what he said there. Let me repeat that, or let me replay that. Oh.
Extremely volatile, blocked off from the rest of financial systems, so that if it crashes, it doesn't bring the entire US economy down with it, requiring a bailout. Some rich people holding a lot of crypto disagree with that strategy. They want a bailout, implicit or explicit, if the house of cards comes crashing down. To that end, after Republicans took back the Senate with the help of money from the crypto industry, they now have a plan to return the favor. And I want you to listen to this part, because no one's really talking about this, but the elements of the plot are just there in plain sight. Senate Republicans are working on a bill that would transfer billions and billions of dollars of money from the US government, from taxpayers, and hand it over to a handful of big crypto holders.
We got a president for President Donald Trump. Here it is. This is the Bitcoin Reserve Bill in the Senate of the United States to establish a Bitcoin strategic reserve, a network of secure storage vaults purchase program and other programs to ensure the transparent management of Bitcoin holdings of the federal government.
Yes, the Bitcoin Act from Republican Senator Cynthia Lummis of Wyoming, it would establish a Federal Reserve of Bitcoin. It's truly one of the most audacious schemes I've ever seen in Congress. Here's why. Rich folks who own a lot of crypto have a problem, right? Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin in particular, is a very valuable asset. Single Bitcoin worth over 100 grand. Some very, very wealthy people own hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. David Sachs, for instance, has a lot of crypto. That said, it's not a liquid asset like cash that you can easily spend or invest or use for practical purposes. It has no practical use really outside of a few gimmicks, and it's very useful for criminal cartels.
Holy fuck. Let's just listen to that part one more time there. He said that the only thing it has value for is a couple gimmicks. And of course, he had to throw in there, it's used by criminal cartels.
Sachs, for instance, has a lot of crypto. That said, it's not a liquid asset like cash.
It's not a liquid asset. Really. So you're telling me that I couldn't sell my Bitcoin in 5 seconds here to any person on earth? It is the most liquid asset that has ever existed before.
That you can easily spend or invest or use for practical purposes. It has no practical use really outside of a few gimmicks, and it's very useful for criminal cartels. So if you're an investor, you're sitting on this speculative asset. You can't actually do anything with it, but it's worth a lot of money. What's more, if you try to sell it all off, right, to get rid of it, the hordes of Bitcoin on the exchanges, that's going to flood the market and tank the price. So what's the solution? They're going to sell it to the U.S. government.
Over 5 years, the United States will assemble 1 million Bitcoin, 5% of the world's supply, and it will be held for a minimum of 20 years and can be used for one purpose: reduce our debt.
Reduce our debt? You can't pay the debt down in Bitcoin. Are you tracking this? Are you tracking what's being planned and announced in person here, right?
Well, we're tracking you, Chris. That's why you're on the show today. So we can always come back to see how stupid you sounded in 2024. So you think that you're like this genius guy who's outsmarting everybody else because you're the only one who's putting this thing together in your head? Yeah, we're going to go back and bookmark this in 5 years from now, Chris, and see how smart you sounded, for sure. That's what's going to happen.
The U.S. government handing billions of dollars into the pockets of rich crypto holders. The plan is that the Bitcoin Act would have the government sell off some of its gold reserves, you know, the stuff from Fort Knox, and use the money to buy 1 billion Bitcoin. At current market value, that would cost $100 billion. Now, the actual price would likely be much higher because that market value would almost certainly rise as a result when a new buyer enters the market and boosts the price of the asset the buyer is now legally obligated to buy.
Sorry, I keep interrupting here, but this is just way too much for me. Listen to, I don't know how good the sound is here, but the one thing I noticed very early on in this video is how echoey it is in there. I think this is like a perfect video to look back in 5 years from now. Like this guy, Chris Hayes, I've never heard him before. I don't ever plan on listening to him again. But you can tell that this guy's literally just sitting in a studio, empty studio, like the MSNBC. You can hear the echo in there because nobody gives a shit what these people are saying anymore. It's just the perfect video for how wrong these people are. And just listen for the echo in the back. You can tell that this guy's sitting in a huge studio all by himself.
Buy. This is an enormous heist. They're just backing the truck up to the government in front of all of us. A massive bailout to the crypto world. The opportunity to turn a speculative asset into real cash on your dime. And presumably David Sachs, as the crypto czar, will help usher that plan through. And there is a real irony here. For a long time, as long as I've been covering crypto, which is over a decade, advocates have sold crypto as this libertarian project, right? We don't need government. We don't need banks. We don't need financial intermediaries. We don't need regulation. Here's Sachs himself making that point on a podcast 2 years ago.
There is a huge risk of currency debasement when the government is in control, and particularly when you have the world's reserve currency. There's just such an enormous temptation to print money to finance your budget and to rack up loans that become unpayable. What Bitcoin offers is a different kind of currency where it's not backed by a government, it's backed by math, it's backed by encryption. And so you don't have to trust the government.
All of that lofty rhetoric goes right out the window, though, when Republicans decide they want the government to initiate a massive upward transfer of wealth.
Like this guy doesn't even make sense. He just showed a clip of David Sachs talking about how the government's spending is out of control and how Bitcoin, you don't need a government to back it. And he's trying to prove a point here, saying that none of that means anything anymore because the government's going to start buying Bitcoin. The government, it's not going to be backed by the US government just because the US government is buying Bitcoin. Like, is this guy really this stupid, or is he just trying to spin it in a way where the average person wouldn't understand what's happening here? Because that does not make any sense. It's still backed by math. The government just is going to hold some of it.
And bail out the crypto industry.
Like, I don't even know. I see a ton of comments here. So everybody is agreeing with what I'm saying here. Like, that was the most insane 5 minutes in TV history before. That was like, take everything for the last 16 years of what the media has been saying about Bitcoin, put it into one 5-minute clip with some dipshit wearing big glasses, and that's what you get. Like, it shouldn't bother me this much. It should, like, my blood's boiling right now listening to this, because the thing that bothers me is, like, I know, you know how far out to lunch this guy is. But the fact that they're putting this on TV where there's a lot of people who actually watch this and they don't know the ins and outs of Bitcoin. They don't understand what he's saying, but they hear that and they think that for some reason this is a bad thing. It's just, I can't even believe that, you know, I don't know what changes it. Like, the thing for me that makes me happy about it is that these dipshits are toast. Like, they're toast. Nobody really pays attention to them anymore. They're, again, just listening to the echo in that studio. You can tell that nobody's there. Nobody cares. But it's like, he's been covering for this. He says he's been covering crypto for 10 years. And you're still that stupid? Are you stupid, or are you just like intentionally misleading people? And I don't know what's worse. But like, I could probably spend an hour breaking down that 5-minute clip and talking about how wrong that whole thing was. But the shitty thing is like a couple hundred people watch this show, and maybe a couple thousand people watch that show now. But, you know, it's sad. That's all it is. It's sad. Okay. I mean, I can't. So let's get into the gold part of this. I can't really keep up on the chat there. Plunger said this guy's on crack. Is he in a time machine? Did he broadcast from 2013? It's nuts. Absolutely insane. Daniel says, is there a code for the speed wallet? Let me see if I can bring it up here, Daniel. I put in the chat a while ago. EPN SI 5. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know really what to say about that anymore. Anyways, again, I'm preaching to the choir here. You guys know how full of shit that guy is, but it bothers me, you know, that people are still watching that. And there's a lot of people like him, like the guy we watched last week, like Peter Schiff. It's just like people have missed the boat here. Like the average person, the media loves to paint Bitcoin as like there's a small group of people who own crypto and they're the ones getting rich off of this. But as we mentioned at the start of the show, 60% of Bitcoin is owned by individuals, owned by people like us. And so this isn't about getting rich. This is about getting rid of the centralized banking system. That's what this is about. And the US government's going to use it in a way, which I'm going to talk about here, to repay the debt. And so I'm going to talk through kind of what's going to happen here, I think. Oh, look at this. Daniel got it to work. So this one's from sas.gg, 138 sats. So that shows up on my screen here, Daniel. So that might be the play. Anyways, so I titled this one "Gold Will End the Fed." Gold will end the Fed. Let me try that again. And I think this is what's going to happen here in the next couple of months. We've seen a lot of different things. We've heard a lot of different things from Trump, what he's been talking about. He called Bitcoin the new oil last week. And so I've heard a couple of people, I think it was Luke Broyles. Is that his name? Luke Broyles, Luke Broman? I don't know. He was on Natalie's podcast and he was talking about this. And I highly recommend, I was going to play a couple clips from it today, but I just think that you guys should go listen to that episode. I think it was Luke Broman. I'll get it here. I don't want to give you guys bad misinformation. Luke Groman. Aha, I was close. Luke Groman. So he was on Natalie's show 6 days ago. It's titled The New Oil. Highly, highly recommend. That's going to blow your mind, that episode. But they're talking about the oil and they're talking about gold. And in this case, he was talking about how the US is going to essentially weaponize Bitcoin with, like they did with oil many decades ago. But with gold, I want you guys to stop and think about how this whole thing could play out with gold. So we know that governments around the world, the majority of people, the majority of gold is held by governments around the world, some by central banks, some just by governments to protect their currency, their purchasing power. And it's been used for a lot of years now, centuries, hundreds of centuries, gold. So governments have been holding on to this gold and it's actually, withstood the test of time better than anything else, gold. And so with Fort Knox, if the gold's there, which I don't know if it is or not. I have no idea. But we know that there's a ton of gold out there. And China, I think, discovered like 1 trillion tons worth of gold. No, I don't know what it was, but it was a lot. And El Salvador discovered a bunch of gold last week. And all these different countries are coming on saying we discovered this gold. So what could the US do here? If they wanted to screw over other countries, buy Bitcoin, what could they do? How could selling gold actually help the US? So the plan right now is, and I could see this happening because from most people's perspective, Bitcoin's bad. Bitcoin's volatile. Bitcoin's very speculative. You can't do anything with Bitcoin. As that guy said, it has a few gimmicks, but that's it. And that's how a lot of people think about it. So if Trump were to come out in January and say, we're going to buy a bunch of Bitcoin and we're going to use taxpayers' money for that, how do you think the majority of people would react to that? Probably pissed. Is it a good strategy? Of course. And I think they'll get to that point eventually. But I think that they're actually going to go the gold route. And the reason the gold route makes sense is because if they start selling their gold that's in Fort Knox, if it's there, but if they start dumping into the market, what's going to happen to the price of gold? Supply goes up. Demand isn't going up for gold. They flood the market with supply with gold. The price crashes. So all these central banks, and that's why I titled the show, Gold Will End the Fed, because all of these central banks have been holding gold. basically as a background, because the currency's worthless. So the government sells the gold, they flood the market with gold, the price of gold crashes. All of the reserves that these other countries and federal reserves and central banks hold goes down. So they trade that for Bitcoin, which is going the opposite direction, going up. It's brilliant. Brilliant strategy. And I think that that's exactly what's going to happen here. So then you look at China, you look at Russia, you look at the Federal Reserve. They've all been stockpiling gold for many years now, many years now. And so what happens when those stockpiles almost become worthless, especially compared to gold? And if you listen to that episode with, what did I say his name was? Luke Groman, he kind of takes it a step further in terms of oil and how they're going to do that with Bitcoin and what that looks like. So I'm not going to get too far into that, but it's very interesting, I think, how this whole thing could play out with gold, with Bitcoin as the new oil. And what's going to happen with that? I think the main thesis around all of that was that the price of Bitcoin is going to explode, regardless if it's through the gold, through printing money, through treating it like oil. And they need the price of Bitcoin to go up, though. That's the thing. And that's what I think a lot of Bitcoiners, and why I've been talking about security so much, is because the price of Bitcoin is going to go through the roof, because they need that to happen. And he compared it to back in, I think it was the 50s, with oil and the dollar. And so they inflated the price of oil and backed their currency with it, the petrodollar. And so Luke is expecting the government, Trump's government, to do the same thing with Bitcoin, inflate it, get a bunch. And with Bitcoin going up in value, it's going to bring a lot, adoption's going to increase. And the demand for stable coins, US stable coins, is going to increase. And so what is the demand of US stable coins? What does that mean? It means that the US Treasury, the Treasury dollar, is going to be in demand, right? Because if we move into this world where people are using Bitcoin and holding Bitcoin and swapping back and forth with Bitcoin, and the price is way up, and the government's holding a lot of that Bitcoin, all of a sudden the demand for stablecoin increases as well. And so you can swap between, it's not that applicable for people in the US, but like even people in Canada, like I hold US dollars over the Canadian dollar. So if I could hold a stable coin, that increases the demand for US treasuries, the dollar. And that's a perfect scenario for the US. That's literally their only way out of this whole thing, is to inflate the price of Bitcoin, selling gold, printing cash, inflating it, getting demand for US stablecoins, for US treasury dollars, and inflating it so much that they actually can do something significant with it. And then in a couple of years from now, when the price of Bitcoin is, I don't know, a lot, they're going to look like geniuses. The price of Bitcoin is going to be through the roof. The price of gold is going to be down probably with all this new supply on the market. Because what do you think is going to happen? It's going to be a chain reaction. The US is going to do it. China's going to start dumping gold. US is going to start, or Russia is going to start dumping gold. Everybody's going to be buying Bitcoin. The price is going to shoot through the roof. And Trump's going to look like a genius. The US is going to look like a genius. And think about how much more support they'll have when all of a sudden they turned this small amount of Bitcoin, as it is today, into this massive thing that they can actually start paying down the debt. It's going to be a vision for people. They're going to be able to see it happening. So what does that mean for us, though? That means that people like us here today, the sats that we have, are going to be part of that. That's going to be inflated with all this happening here. And so that, going back to like what we were saying with the micro strategy, that's why I think that today is the time to be doing that, because you're going to be able to ride this whole thing. And if you do it properly in a tax-free way. So Plunger says, this is how the US is going to fight BRICS. Yeah, agree. It's wild. And we're knocking at the door of this happening right now. Like, this isn't something that's going to happen a decade from now. Like, probably within the next 365 days, this whole thing's going to play out. So I don't know. It's too much. It's too much. I'm getting tired of, sounding like a broken record here, but like, just understand, please understand where this whole thing is going. And it's not just my opinion on this stuff either, right? Like we know that. Okay, let me just rip through the comments here. I mean, I kind of agree with this comment too. Like, it's actually good he's keeping the price down so we can buy more. And I have no issues with the price staying down as long as it can. Yeah, great point here. Criminal cartels use cash and TD Bank. 100%. And I agree with this. This is kind of what I was trying to get to before but I was too overwhelmed with bullshit in my head. But I do agree with this. Like the news reporters, between the COVID stuff, between the Ukraine stuff, between the Bitcoin stuff, these people should be held accountable for what they've done, for intentionally misleading the public. And Michael says, I wonder if clips like this will be used in a class action lawsuit against that tool. I mean, I don't know. I think they're already toast themselves. It would be nice to like destroy them instead of just fade them away. But yeah. This is a good point. Technically, you need at least 2 blocks confirmed to sell. Well, is it 2, or I thought it was just 1 before you can sell it, depending on the exchange, I guess. So it's more like 20 seconds, not a few seconds, but yeah, 20 minutes. Same thing though. Same thing. There's some good comments here. Yeah, audible echo. Yeah. You can hear it. Like it just goes to show how completely irrelevant these people are. This guy's sitting in a studio, an empty studio, echoey, yelling at the camera about Bitcoin. It's like the old man yells at the sky. It's exactly what he's doing. Like none of the points he raised made any sort of sense at all. Nobody's listening to him. He's just yelling in a big empty studio that used to be full into the void. Jason says the misinformed educating the uninformed. 100%. Yeah, I mean, Matt's probably right. This dude probably has a couple thousand more viewers than you, and I'm barely exaggerating. I have no idea how I even found your channel, but it's Bitcoin related. A lot of people say that. All of a sudden, my face just shows up in your feed one day, and then you're in the live chat, and then you're living the future, and then we're doing things together. That's the beauty of the internet. I don't think too many people are going to be doing that with Chris Hayes. So it is a great time. It's exciting. It's frustrating, but yeah, nothing we can do. The only thing we can do is get as many sats as we can before they start inflating the price, because it is absolutely coming. Okay, I got a couple sats here too. Happy birthday, Arnie, from Duncan. 100 sats. Happy birthday, Arn. He's MIA today. Probably snoozing. He had a big weekend. And Daniel says 138 sats. So those are showing up. That's good news. That's good news. Daniel says, George showed up on my YouTube a little more than a year ago. Just popped up one day and I got hooked in. Isn't that crazy? Funny how the universe works. But I was actually going to release a video in this week. I saw, I was inspired by another YouTuber. It was just a thumbnail of an envelope. It said, "Open me." And that's all it was. And the title was, "You'll see this when you're ready." So I was going to do like a little 2-minute video about Bitcoin and do the same kind of thing, just to see what kind of traction we got on that. It would be for the people who, have the Bitcoin algorithm working for them. Codeman says, why keep vaults full of gold if you're not using it to back your currency? Yeah, that's what I mean. I think it's because they all knew that this was going to come and they knew that fiat would fail. But that's the problem with gold, is that we can't verify it. And it's slow. And there's a whole lot of other things too. Oh, this is a good question. House Fusion. All right, we're going to wrap things up. We're over 2 hours. My God, how does this keep happening? House Fusion says, how many hardware wallets do you recommend owning using? If you're just getting into Bitcoin, one. Like when you're first getting into Bitcoin, you want to keep things as simple as possible. Because the majority of people who lose their coins is not because they got hacked. It's not because their exchange went down. It's not because somebody found their private key. It's because they moved too fast, too quick, and overcomplicated things. They got ahead of their skis and they lost their Bitcoin. They did, nobody else. So if you're just getting into Bitcoin, keep it very simple. Get yourself one of these. Go to the show notes, click the very top. It says Bitcoin Starter Kit. Talked about this already. This is such a good deal, multi-sig bundle. People who have been in Bitcoin for a while should be looking at this. And I met with a guy last week and he was looking for a multi-signature setup. And I recommended this because you get a cold card and you get 2 jades and the stamp seed kit. For $950 less the discount, if you use 88 sats code, 15% off. And in America, that's like $500 after the discount and after everything. So $500, you get a full multi-sig setup, a cold card queue, 2 jades, and the stamp seed kit. So that's for a little bit more advanced. I'd say if you got 50 million sats, you should be looking into multi-sig. But for everybody else who's just getting into this, get yourself a jade. Get the jade, get some trading cards, you get the stamp seed kit. This is very, very important, this part of it. And if you use the code 88 sats, 88 SATS, you get 15% off of this. So this is a local, they're authorized dealers of CoinKite, Trezor, Jade, Seedor, QuickBit in Regina. So the reason why you'd use QuickBit over like a normal, instead of buying it from Blockstream, is number one, shipping. They ship within 1 or 2 days, gets to you very fast, which is what people want. And customer service. You have any issues with it, you want help setting it up, you can just call QuickBit and say, I'm stuck at this point. Somebody there is going to help you out. That's the reason. And they told me that because I asked them the same question. I said, why would somebody buy it from QuickBit instead of Blockstream? And they said that Blockstream actually encourages customers to go through authorized dealers instead of buying directly from them. So I would start with one. And then as you kind of go along through your Bitcoin journey, you can get 2, you can get a decoy wallet, you can get a multi-sig, but definitely just start with one. Don't overcomplicate things. That's it. That's it. So once again, I know we talked about a lot of stuff today, 2-hour show, but I don't know. I just appreciate, hey, Chris is in the chat. I wish I had one of Chris's soundboards. I need to get me one of those because every time I show up in his chat, he plays the Barry clips, and I don't have that. But Chris, great to see you, my friend, my fellow amigo, on my way to breakfast. Cheers. So mostly I just wanted to end the show today with just saying thanks. I mean, I don't know how you came across. I don't know how you found this channel. I don't know how you found me, but you're in the right spot. And again, just focus all of your time, all of your attention over these next 30 days, especially on just getting as much, accumulating as many sats as you possibly can. That's it. All you need to be worried about. And from there, that's when you start learning to protect it, if you haven't already. But if you have any questions about anything, Hey, I recognize this name. This fella or felly was in the Bitcoin Amigos chat last week too. Clean Your Machine Inc. Hopefully Clean Your Machine Inc. has some Bitcoin on their treasury. But anyways, thanks for being here. Thanks for all the support. For if you don't have the sats to send in, if you don't have the super chats, if you can't afford to get a Living in the Future membership, I get it. I do. But consider sharing some of these clips. Don't share like a 20 or a 2-hour episode on your feed, but like find some clips that would be relevant to people in your life. Share those, like the video, and just do what you can. Do what you can to support. And even things like Bitcoin Well, getting an account on there, that helps the show. If you are in the market for a new device, buying it through QuickBit, that supports the show. There's a lot of ways to do it if you don't want to send in sats. But very, very generous community here. So I just want to say thanks for that. And I mean, if you don't want to do any of that, just keep showing up. Keep learning, keep studying, keep helping your direct network, your circle of trust, and you're going to be good. I don't know why Zapstream cut off. Oops. Anyway, somebody just sent in 1,500 SAS too. That's a great way to end the show. So if you feel like sending some SAS to Arnie, you can send it there, or you can send it to his Lightning address, AdoptedSon98 at Walls of Satoshi. Losing my voice, I got to go do the podcast now. And if you want to check that out, you can find it on Fountain, Spotify. It's called Project Potential, but you might have to just search the Daily Bitcoin Journey on there. Maybe I'll add a link underneath the show if you want to go check that out. It's different topics. It's more focused on like earning sats, business ideas around Bitcoin, and it's a pretty good show. Project Potential. We've done 6 episodes so far. So hey, thanks for stopping by, Oro. Appreciate you. Maverick says, thanks, Jor. Thanks. I'll enjoy your week. Perhaps one day we will throw a party where everyone on the channel is invited. We watch these MSNBC clips and laugh at how wrong they were. Yeah, no doubt, eh? One thing we're planning on doing within the Living in the Future community is once a year, different meetup in different parts of the world. So if you're not a member of the Living in the Future, that's another great way to support the channel and mostly support yourself. Ton of value in that community. So have yourselves an amazing Monday today. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you right back here. Oh, Alan, you just snuck her in here. Alan, I'll throw this in the show notes today. So if you got a couple minutes today, just check out the show notes. Check out everything that's going on in there. And I'll add these links in there. I'll put the Project Potential. I'll put the Bitcoin Amigos link and anything else of relevance. So, or you can just search Bitcoin Amigos on YouTube. All right. Thanks, Kev. Appreciate you too, my friend. Have a great Monday, everybody. We'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow morning.